should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. This should be played at high volume. Preferably in a residential area.
The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What's happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And I'm pretty pumped about this next guest. On the phone line is someone who had my back when I got fired from Rovers Morning Glory last year. You can hear him every day on Canada Laughs on SiriusXM. He is the host of the Todd Shapiro Show. The one and only Todd Shapiro is on Hoppe Hour. What's up, man?
How about you? Sorry, hang on. Okay. Hey, bud.
How's it going, man? I really appreciated you having me on your show last year after I got fired. It sort of gave me some confidence.
Thanks, man. I was just being nice because I like what you're doing, man. You work hard. So, by the way, I'm driving here in Toronto, where I broadcast from. We do the show in LA and New York too, but in Toronto, a lot of people don't know this. It's a big city, a real big city, and the traffic here is tantamount to Los Angeles and New York. So if you hear me frustrated and honking my horn, that's the deal. And also my wife and my child are here. We're on speakerphone, and the baby's trying to sleep because I'm honking the horn. So it'll be crying. But let's do this, man. I'm in. I'm all in. Don't edit any of this out, bro.
I won't, man. What I think about Toronto is I think people don't realize how big it is. It's bigger than Chicago, dude.
Yeah, Toronto's massive, man. There's the GTA itself, the Greater Toronto Area, with including sort of some outside suburbs of the downtown core, over 5 million people, and it's big-time city, man. It's work hard, play hard, a lot of hustle. It's kind of more like New York than anything, just obviously not on that kind of scale, but it's full on, bro, full on.
Over the years, how well has Toronto embraced you when you were on the old show and now that you're on SiriusXM? How great has the fan base been?
Yeah, I've been lucky. I got dedicated listeners, and I call them friends. And as you know, in this industry, it's there's so much competition in media these days, whether you're a YouTube star or a radio star or a TV star or a movie star. And it's about how do you command, the attention of an audience and how do you keep them there. And the way I always like to do it is just by trying to be genuine. And I'm very grateful for them kind of following me on terrestrial radio to SiriusXM radio, and I still think there's probably hundreds of thousands that don't even know where I am, but that's sort of the nature of the game. I have a decent Twitter following, at I am Toddy Tickles, and, I grow Instagram, and I grow my own YouTube every day, and, it's, listen, SiriusXM's great, and my exposure outside of Toronto is probably bigger than it is even now in Toronto, but combined and owning it on a podcast later, I think it doesn't really matter where the listening audience is, as long as hopefully they're there. Because if they're there, Ryan, as you know, then they support sponsors, and then sponsors are happy, and then the mortgage gets paid.
What I like about you, too, is, and you've said this on Humble and Fred, and you've said this on your show, that when you used to be on the radio, on FM radio in Toronto, you were kind of playing a character where they wanted you to kind of be a douchebag. And what I like about your show now is you come off very genuine and very happy to be there. It just comes off with some real fun talk radio.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I guess, I was encouraged to kind of be the best of the bad on the old show. And a lot of it was really me just trying to not fail. Like, I was told to do something, and whether I agree with it or not, I just wanted to make sure I did it well. I use the analogy a lot of being a wide receiver, and it's like if my quarterback called the pass and me going down the middle and taking a huge hit, then I'm going to grab that pass knowing a huge hit's coming. But I'm not for the team. I'm going to make sure I do my very best to get the reception and then eventually get the touchdown. So, that's kind of how I look at it. And now, I'm old, so I don't want to take the hits. I'm pretty old. That would hurt a lot more. But it's part of evolution as well, and just kind of a changing attitude with my own persona, where I'm married, I have a child, I look at life a little differently. And while I always want to be juvenile and have some fun on the program, I definitely don't want to be mean-spirited or encourage douchebaggery, as you so say.
Oh, you were the co-host of a top-rated show in Toronto, and then you basically got fired, and then you began doing your own show on SiriusXM. How nervous were you going into a show that was yours?
Oh, okay. I still get nervous and anxious a lot. That's just how I am. I feel like if I don't get nervous or anxious, then it means I'm not excited to do something. So I don't think that's changed much in my career at all. Like, the other day I did my show from Adam Carolla's studios, and I'm sitting there with, the pod father himself, me and him in a room, and then Ari Shafir popped in. And like the night, can I swear on this program?
You can say whatever the fuck you want, Todd.
Thanks, bro, and thanks for swearing in front of my kid, though. No, I'm joking. I was like shitting blood the night before. I was really nervous, and that's to me a weird gauge of excitement level. And I think it's something that no entertainer should ever lose because, think about it as a first date or the day you get married or those great moments in your life. There's usually some anxiousness that comes with it. So I don't know if that ever goes away, but I think it usually translates into being good for you because obviously something exciting's on the other end.
Now, how do you come up with show prep during the day? Are you doing it a lot, or do you have your producer, Jay Brody, come up with it? How often are you doing show prep for your show?
Brody's pretty lazy, so I don't rely on him. But he is a funny dude. I think he's the funniest guy in Canada, actually.
Really?
See, I think Roddy, who's another one of our co-hosts, I think Roddy's funnier than Jay these days. I was telling Roddy that if we were to give, on hockey teams or sports teams, they kind of give like a weird hat at the end of each game, and they pass around something for the player of the game, and then that gets passed to the next player of the game, a few nights later. I think Roddy would be getting the beaten down old microphone every game for being the funniest. But they're both incredible, and show prep really is. I'd like to encourage my team to send me a story, a personal story, and a few stories of what's going on in the world, so we're all kind of on the same page. And then for me, it's sort of what's going on in my own life too, what's topical. Sometimes I do a ton of show prep, and I don't even get to it because we just go off on tangents. And really what I think it is, and you probably know this, the most important thing really is chemistry with the team and them being able to adapt on the fly and then sort of supporting you through it and not kind of knocking down ideas. It sounds so corny, but it's the old improv theory where you do yes and. So you would say a statement and then you would build on that statement. And luckily we have a team that just likes to build on fun ideas. So that's kind of how it's working for us. And the show prep happens, but the more you do it, the more you just really want to be real and reflect your life. You don't want to prepare too much. And like Larry King used to say with his interviews, I don't like to prepare even too much for the guys and ladies that I'm interviewing because then it's asking, what I find a lot of what announcers do that's a terrible mistake is they end up giving the answer away within the question and then there's no point for the guest to respond. They're like, yeah, you basically just told me what I did in 2003. So yeah, it was a great time in my life, as opposed to just getting into a conversation. So I don't prep too much. Obviously you like to know a little bit about them. And once I do, it usually goes swimmingly well. I'm pretty lucky. I feel like our interviews are hands down some of the best in the country, and it's something I wouldn't have been confident to say a few years ago. But when I listen back to them and I realize that no one else in the country is just having these long form conversations, and guests generally don't ever want to leave; they just want to hang out. And to me, that's a good sign.
It kind of has the vibe of somebody at the bar drinking a beer or being around a bonfire just talking about shit. It reminds me a lot of Bennington or Opie and Jimmy. Like, you can just tell that the guests want to be there and they don't ever want to leave,
Yeah, I try not to necessarily model myself over anyone. And truthfully, being in radio so much and always working on building a brand and now building a family and stuff, I don't really have a ton of time to listen to other people, but I know that's a compliment. What you're saying, I know is a compliment. And I heard Bennington live at Just for Laughs do an unmask, and I'd never heard that before. And yeah, it was just really guys shooting. He did it with Bill Burr, and he just sort of started a conversation. You figure out where it goes, and it might take different paths, and then you just kind of adapt to what those paths are, and that's exactly what we try and do. But I wouldn't say I modeled it off these guys.
Yeah.
But I would like to say that it's a very nice compliment if you say I'm in that sort of same category.
What has been your key to growing your brand over the past few years? How have you been so successful at it? A lot of lying. Yeah, that's what you got to do to make it. Got to fake it to make it, right, Todd?
I just bullshit everybody. I had Wayne Gretzky on my show yesterday for 2 hours. He didn't want to leave, and then he gave me money and thanked me.
Are you serious? What's it like when you have Wayne on? What is that moment like, Todd?
No, I didn't. See, I didn't have Wayne on. It was a lie. But,
Oh.
I mean, but you bought it, so now it's like it happened. Perception's reality. No, listen, we've been grateful to have many big I have a great Wayne Gretzky story, by the way. Have I ever told you my Wayne Gretzky story?
No, what happened? What happened when you met Wayne Gretzky, the legend?
So Wayne Gretzky owns a restaurant in Toronto, appropriately named Gretzky's, and it's on 99 Blue Jay Way, his number, and on the street that they changed the name to because it leads to the Sky Dome where the Blue Jays play. Sky Dome is a different name these days, but it's like a corporate name, and I like to refer it to the name that I grew up in and going to the first World Series in Canada ever and watching that game. So anyway, there's a huge party at Gretzky's to celebrate Chris Chelios being nominated into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, Chris Chelios was a bit of that's someone honking at me now. Chris Chelios was a bit of a socialite in his older sort of playing days, and he played at like 47 years old. And Chelios knew everybody. I mean, everyone. And everyone came to this party. Kid Rock was there. Cindy Crawford was there. John McEnroe was there. There was just so many great big celebrities. And anyway, sorry, I'm dodging a guy here. My wife's not doing that because we have a kid in the car. I should probably be driving safer. So this party was off the hook. Cuba Gooding Jr. was there. I mean, you name it, every celebrity was there. And so long story short, I'm hanging out with Gretzky, who I met on 2 prior occasions. Now, Gretzky doesn't know me by my name, but he knew me as a radio guy. So he calls me over, and I sit next to him. He goes, "Radio guy, how's your night?" I'm like, "Man, this is incredible. I can't believe that Kid Rock just played some live songs." I'm like, "It's so unbelievable to be here. Thank you, Wayne. How you doing?" And we're talking. I'm asking him how his family life is, asking him kind of what his next moves are. We're just in the middle of a conversation. And then who sits next to me? So imagine you're at a sports bar. What's a restaurant too? And then it's you and Gretzky in a seat for 3 people in one of the bench seats. And then someone sits next to me. Take a guess, and you'll find this fascinating from where you broadcast from or did. Where are you now?
I'm in Tampa Bay.
Okay, but where were you before?
Cleveland.
Yeah, oh, you're in Cleveland. Okay, I thought you were in Chicago.
That's where I'm from. That's where I was born.
So okay, so take a guess who sits next to me then.
Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
How?
So
what is that like, dude?
I'm in the middle of Wayne Gretzky and your hero, Michael Jordan.
Oh, my God.
And immediately I know my place, right? So I just excuse myself right away. I look over to Michael. I say, "Mike, I'm a huge fan. What an honor to meet you." And I shake his hand, and he shakes mine back right away, and I make a stupid joke. He's probably heard a million times, like, "Those are huge hands." Like, "Yeah, I heard that before." And you know, stupid, whatever. And I say, "Wayne, thanks, man. Great to see you again." Get up, and I leave. And as I'm walking out, or just walking away from the bench, all I hear is this. Wayne looks over at Michael and says, "How does it feel to only have 5 MVPs?"
Are you serious? I love the idea that there's smack talking amongst athletes.
It was like the greatest chirp of all time. Gretzky, if you don't know, if you're not a hockey fan, has 9 MVPs. And like that, he is just the only guy that could get away with saying that comment. It is. I don't care how many times people sports chirp one another, and you hear all the great stories of the best doing it. And I don't care about all the mama jokes and all this stuff. That is the greatest chirp of all time.
Speaking of sports up in Canada, how happy are you right now with the Raptors?
I'm a huge Raptor guy. It's amazing what the team's doing. 50-plus wins, first time ever. They're looking like they're going to definitely meet Cleveland just before the finals in the East. And they're playing better than Cleveland right now. Last I checked, I haven't checked in a day or two for the last 10 games. And listen. I think this is, if there's a team that's going to take down Cleveland this year to get to the finals, it's them. And then either way, I don't think it matters because the West is too strong. Golden State will crush anybody.
I love the thing where people are trying to make excuses of why the Warriors wouldn't win, Todd. They kind of remind me of the Bulls in the 90s, just where nobody can prevent them from winning that ring, you know?
Yeah, they're just, it's like a video game in expert mode while everyone else is in like the slow mode. Like it's insane to watch the Golden State Warriors play. And it's almost like the ballet meets sports or something. It's like beauty is the only way to describe it. I love it. I love watching that team. And Steph Curry, I'm like, "You okay, buddy?" Little guy's crying. You talk about athletes like a Gretzky or, even actually a Larry Bird, like guys who didn't look like they should be top quality premium athletes. Like they're not built like the Terminator. I think that every average guy falls in love with these guys because it kind of gives them hope or sort of shit. Not that past a certain point you're never going to make the pros, but it's like they weren't built a certain way to guarantee to be good, and I love it.
Before I let you go, I want to get your take on this. How would you describe Rob Ford overall? Because America knows him as the crack-smoking mayor, but I want to get your take overall on him since you're from Toronto.
So I'm pretty much party agnostic, and I don't get very political, but I do know that Rob Ford, without a doubt, before he died, was a man of the people. He related to so many who were so angry, to the common average guy who works his balls off, and you know what? $400 or $500 in taxes a year that they might save is a huge big deal to them. Listen to my kid; he's so awesome. He's doing obo. And Fordsy I met on probably 7 or 8 occasions, and every time I saw him, I would do something for the radio that was in a joking manner. Like once at one of the big press conferences, I asked him if it was true there was a cheeseburger in his crack pipe. And that was like a big thing that got well known over Toronto. And Fordsy laughed at every joke. So despite what you think of someone's politics, despite what you think of them as a person, and a lot of people didn't like Rob Ford because he was so candid, and he was pretty crude and crass. And a lot of people don't like that kind of stuff, especially in what was supposed to be a leader of one of the best cities in the world. But I can tell you this, as just a human being, if people can laugh at jokes and are self-deprecating, which I feel like he was, that to me is the sign of a good person that I want to have a beer with. And Fordsy would have been one of those guys. And, he was always good back to me. So may he rest in peace. I feel terrible for his family and his children. What a crazy, this world's crazy, Ryan, man. 1 minute you're the most famous political figure on the planet. He was Google searched more than Putin when Putin was at the height of a lot of his controversy. And Fordsy was, he went on Kimmel. And then within a year and a half, 2 years, the guy's no longer on this planet because he's whether he's in heaven or hell. I can tell you one thing, that there are a lot of people up there having beers with him or down there too. So it's just crazy, the extremes of what can happen. And cancer at the end of the day is just a fucking terrible disease. Fuck cancer. It shouldn't take anybody. Maybe like Hitler could have gotten cancer. I don't think people would have cared, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man, which is why I like you is you seem like a guy who takes each day and doesn't take it for granted, and I can feel that through your show. So if people want to hear your show and find your work online, where can they see it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just my name, the Todd Shapiro Show on SiriusXM, channel 168. We do it from 4 to 6. We had huge guests out in L.A., and we continue to get huge guests out here in Canada. And some of those guys being like a Corolla, like I mentioned, Russell Peters, who's a famous Canadian comedian, Ari Shafir, Red Band, all those Death Squad guys. We interviewed, J.B. Smooth, Leon Black from Curb Your Enthusiasm. We have all those guys. The reason why I mention them is because you can get all our old shows too, which really we don't timestamp anything. We just kind of shoot the shit and have these conversations. So go to the ToddShapiroShow.com, and we're slowly building a YouTube channel at youtube.com Todd Shapiro Show /Todd Shapiro Show. And then I am Toddy Tickles is all my handles and stuff. That's an old radio name, don't ask, but it's because I was a good I was a good tickler, if you know what I'm saying. That's the old Tickles voice.
Well, dude, keep up the good work. I had a lot of fun having you on Hoppe Hour, and I always enjoy listening when I'm driving around Tampa Bay.
Thanks, dude. It's perfect timing. We're literally just pulling in our garage right now. Thanks again for having me, Ryan, and let's definitely collab on some more stuff in the future, and congrats on your success and your persistence and your dedication to radio, which pays shitty, so I think it's a bit of a waste of your time, but I love the fact that you keep going at it and you keep making things happen and keep proving people wrong. Good for you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good rest of the day.
Okay, cheers, man.
All right, bye.
Hoppe Hour.